Ahoy there! Captain Benzie here, coming at you with another developer Q&A video for EVE Echoes. For those of you who don't know, each week the developers take 4 questions posed by the community and respond to them on both the EVE Echoes official Twitter account and Facebook page. Now, they're also in-game somewhere, I can never quite find it and remember the exact route, but I know that not everyone wants to go through social media to find this kind of stuff, so I go through these every week, adding on my own personal thoughts and opinions to each of them. Now, I did miss last week's developer Q&A. We had some real struggles with our internet that have now been resolved, so I am going to be doing a double bumper dev Q&A today. We're going to be looking at the 4 questions from last week and the 4 questions from this week. If you have a particular question you would like the developers to answer, make sure you head to the description of this video. There is a link there that will take you to a Google document where you can ask the developers your own question. If they choose to respond to that particular question, you will win a month of basic Omega. All that said and done then, let's jump right into this week's double edition of the Dev Q&A. First of all, for last week, the 29th of December through to the 4th of January. First off, hi, hope you're well and thank you for all you do. Playing at 30 FPS is really starting to annoy me. It lets such a beautiful game down and is especially bad on BlueStacks. When, if at all, would you be willing to implement a higher FPS so we can all get the most out of our devices? And please explain why this isn't an option. Thanks. Lance then says, thanks for your suggestion. We plan to solve the performance issue of the game first. Our current priority is to ensure that the higher quality graphics can run smoothly on more devices. After fulfilling this goal, we will consider making a higher frame rate available. Now, first things first, BlueStacks. I don't give a damn if the game doesn't run properly in BlueStacks. This is, the developers have said before, they don't support emulation. They're not going to ban you for using it, but there are so many bugs and things to consider that emulation just creates that it's not worth doing. This is a mobile title first and foremost. The thing is, though, I'm struggling to think of a device that is locked to a 30 frames per second display. I'm on an Asus ROG Phone 3, and yes, I know I'm spoilt, I have 144 Hz, but most modern flagships at least go all the way up to 120. 90 is not uncommon on a mid-range phone now, and I cannot honestly think of any device that is locked to 30 FPS. To me, yes, there should be a 60 FPS option, and if you've watched videos where you see like the ships flickering on screen when I'm in the ship viewer, that's why, because my phone will not go below 60 FPS. It displays at 60, and the game can't handle that on those model viewers, so it flickers. I really want a 60 FPS, and I don't know for the life of me why this game doesn't have it, when so many other games launch with support all the way up to 120 frames per second. Now, even that, to me, I get it. Not everyone's going to use that. Support for 60 seems like basic. Support for 90 seems pretty common. Support for 120, I see it all the time. The 144 that I can do, yeah, I get it. That's a bit niche, and I don't need that, but I would love to have 60. I need more Hisec PvE content. What rewards they give is not important for me. I want to have Hisec battles with more enemies. Only 8 ship for the last wave is not enough for me. Wilson responds, thank you for your feedback. We'll release new PvE and PvPvE content covering high, low and nullsec players. And I kind of get this. I think you're looking at the wrong thing if you think just more ships is the way to resolve this. Ultimately, PvE content in EVE Echoes is pretty slim at the moment. It doesn't matter if you're in an Inquisitor, in a Scout, in a Dead Space, if you're in a Nihilist Dead Space, or if you're in just a standard encounter mission or small, medium or large anomaly. The combat is exactly the same. Kill the first wave of enemies, kill the second wave of enemies, kill the third wave of enemies, kill the fourth wave of enemies, then move on to the next bit. That's all that PvE ratting is. I've talked about this at length before, but just as a brief thing, if you're looking at EVE Online, you get these really unique missions. Oh, you need to go and hold onto this one particular enemy. His friends are going to attack you, but you need to hold this one guy in place with a stasis web of fire and a warp disruptor. You need to stop him escaping until Concord arrives. If he dies, you lose. You need to go and attack this asteroid base. You can either just rush straight there, blow the base up and get away to safety, or you can thin out the waves of pirates before it, and this kind of thing is some really interesting content, something a little bit different. I agree, yes, we need more Hisec PvE content. I think we need more PvE content across the board, something that's not just kill more ships. Even the new capital fleets they've just added for this new event are basically, yeah, more ships. Just kill more ships. There's nothing creative or clever about them, and I kind of miss that from EVE Online. It's something I really think is missing from the game. Moving on. Where are the Nestor Nanocores? For example, in-game currently you should be able to gain the Ascension Nanocore for the Nestor, but there's no way of obtaining the core. Why is this, and why in general are there no Nanocores for the Nestor? Thanks to your feedback, the Ascension Nanocore for pirate faction ships will be available in the new Concord Pass in the future. If you're actually if you've looked into the Concord Pass that started today, you'll see that it's already in there. In fact, I think it was the other day we got the Neon Gas ones as well. Neon Gas and the Ascension ones, they're all available now for the Nestor, for the Barghest, things like that. There's actually another question about these later on that we'll talk about in a moment as well. So if you do fly a Nestor or Barghest or faction ships, there's some interesting stuff coming for that. Now, ultimately, it's one of those things, I think, when it comes down to it, they release nanocores sort of when and if they want to. There are still some skins that show on various different ships that are impossible to get in the game. So there's a lot of stuff like this that is still sort of kicking around from legacy files and stuff. I would like to see all of this added eventually. I think, to be fair though, I'm just happy that we now have Stealth Bomber nanocores. That's a big thing for me. Moving on to the fourth question then, are there any plans to introduce damage type specific shield or armor hardeners, those that boost only one damage type resistance per module, but are stronger than adaptive that boost all types? I believe these would be great addition to fitting variety and would give us more tactical options in both PvE and PvE. So basically, this is like how you have an adaptive shield, an adaptive invulnerability field or adaptive armor hardener. When you activate it, it uses a little bit of capacitor but increases your resistances across all four types, and you have the reactive shield hardener and reactive armor hardener, that when you take damage, they adjust and give you better resistances than what you're taking. What they're asking for here is, what about an electromagnetic shield hardener? Basically a module that when you activate it, boosts only your electromagnetic resistance, but it's a bigger boost than just the adaptive or the reactive would otherwise give. Now, in my opinion, I don't see this as a huge thing that would give us more tactical options. I don't know why you would ever go for that over a reactive unless, like, the bonuses are considerably more, because a reactive does the same thing. If you go up against, say, an Amar ship and you've got reactive armor hardeners, then they're going to react and increase the resistances to electromagnetic and thermal damage. The only time that this would be useful, in my opinion, is if you're going up against someone with missiles, and even then it's not useful, it's the only time it would really matter, because a reactive does nothing really against missiles, because all four types of damage are being dealt to you. The reactive armor hardener, reactive shield hardener doesn't actually adjust at all. So if you... how niche is this? Think about it. If you were going up against, say, a Purifier that is a stealth bomber that has a bonus to its electromagnetic damage on its missiles, then yeah, having an electromagnetic shield hardener would help you more than a reactive shield hardener would, but that's literally like the only case I can think of, and it's ridiculously niche. Or possibly, I suppose, going up against drones. No, to me, reactive does enough, but hey, there are other ways you can do this. You can have modifications like thermal paste and stuff like that you can add in, but ultimately we have rigs that do this, and I think the kind of issue here is I want to have the resistances, but I don't want to use the rigs, and that's kind of circumventing the entire point, that if you want that kind of resistance, you have to use up valuable rig slots that could otherwise be put forward for your DPS. So I'm in two minds on this one. Personally, I don't really see that that's a thing. I would rather be watching them, like, differentiate shield and armor tanking a bit more in other ways. Thanks for your suggestion, says Wilson. We are on the same page. Our team is trying to add modules that provide single-type damage resistance while reducing the strength of all-round resistance modules. We believe this would offer more tactical options to players. See, I don't see it as adding more tactical options. It's just, oh, I'm going up against Amar, so I need electromagnetic. I'm going up against Angel, so I need explosive. You don't really think about it. The only time it really affects is if you go into an anomaly and you get scanned down by someone who happens to be different. So if you, for example, you're sitting in a ship doing not bad hair day, whatever the Amar equivalent is of those, and you're therefore in a ship that's using electromagnetic and thermal resistances, and then someone turns up in a cannon ship, jumps in and tries to shoot you down. I don't know. I don't see that as a huge thing. Maybe that's just me, though. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below. Moving on to this week's Dev Q&A then. 4 questions down, 4 to go. This is for the week of the 5th to 11th of January. In the last balance patch, faction battleships for Angel, Blood Raider, Serpentis and Sancha were buffed. Faction battleships for Mordu's Legion and Sisters of Eve were not, as they had not been available. And just as a point, the Guristas ones also did get some tweaks. The Rattlesnake. Rattleship? What is a rattleship? Rattlesnake. Now, however, the damage on the Barghest is lower than a Raven Striker, as it did not receive the rebalancing on release of the tier 10 battleships to keep it ahead. Please look at the balance of the Barghest and increase the DPS. Now, again, I'm going to be a little bit sort of down the middle here. Ultimately, the Barghest isn't just about DPS, it's about its other bonuses as well. Yes, a Raven Striker is a Tech 10 battleship. The Barghest is available pretty much from Tech level 8. You can actually fly at any Tech level, but you can only skill into the skills that are used for it from Tech 8 upwards. So theoretically, you can do slightly lower DPS than a Raven Striker in a battleship at Tech level 8. So there is that advantage to it. That said, if you're at Tech level 10, the fact that your faction battleship, and a blasted expensive one at that, is beaten out by a standard standard battleship, I get it. That's not great. And I talk about the faction frigates and faction cruisers having this problem. It's the same with the battleships. Wilson says, thanks for the feedback, we will adjust the balance of Mordu's Legion ships and the Sisters of Eve ships in the April balance update. This does worry me a little, because I can imagine that the Sisters of Eve ships are just going to get massive damage boosts to their drones, at which point, what's the point in any of the Guristas ships if the Sisters of Eves are just going to do it better and with cloaking? I'm worried, I think, that they might just make Sisters of Eve too much on the combat side of things when they're not supposed to be, because people are flying them and wanting them to be combat ships. And I think balancing your game around what people want something to be rather than what it's supposed to be is a dangerous path to go down. But again, hey, maybe that's just me. Ultimately, I think that, yeah, the Barghest probably does need some love. The Nestor, it's just too niche a ship, really, for Eve Echoes right now, because it's a battleship that is a remote armor repairer. It's got its uses, for sure, but it's just very expensive for something that only really sees use in extraordinarily niche circumstances. I don't think the Nestor needs a redesign, I just think it needs... I don't know what it needs. I really don't know what it needs. Would it be possible to make a button to collect PI and or extend all planetary timers at once? Oh goodness, okay, the play the game for me crowd are back. Extend all planetary timers, I agree with. The one that you can just sort of hit it and all of your planetary timers refresh, that makes sense. Collecting all your PI just with one button press, come on, seriously. The reason for my ask is as of late I've finally gotten my POS fitted with 2 extractors, which means 12 planets to click each and every day, at least twice, because of heavy water. It feels like a chore now, and I know many people don't have their own POS fitted with 2 extractors, but to people who don't, I'm sure the time extender button would still be very welcome. Yeah, I agree, the time extender would be welcome, but the collect PI, the whole point is that, yeah, you've now got 12 planets generating PI for you. Like, for crying out loud, the point is that you kind of, yeah, you've got 12 planets. You've got 12 planets and you're complaining that, oh no, there's too much for me. It's like me sitting there saying, oh no, my bank account has so much money in it that it doesn't display properly on my mobile banking app anymore. Help. Like, it feels a little bit hashtag first world problems, you know what I'm saying? But ultimately, yeah, the time extender button, I agree with that one. I just think that, yeah, if you're going to have 12 planets set up with PI, the one sort of thing you can do is actually sit there and log in twice a day and just do that. It's not overly difficult, and you know what, if you miss it once, it's not like your POS is suddenly going to explode now, is it? Yeah, it means that you lose your optimal streak, I guess. If you're looking at how much PI you produce on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, you are going suboptimal, but hey, this is a game. It's not meant to be a second job. Unless you're me, then it is your job. I'm glad, though, that Lancelot agrees. We'll add a button to extend all planetary times at once. Thank you for your feedback, but not the... doesn't look like you'll get the whole collect part of it. I think going down that list and collecting it it's still important, and it's nice to be able to look at it. You know, all joking aside, it's nice to actually be able to monitor how much you are collecting and see that come through. It is... I don't know, maybe I'm being too harsh here, but I think, yeah, the extender's good. Just, oh, come on. You're clicking a button 12 times twice a day. Oh, no. Moving on. I really love the Renaissance skin for the worm. Yeah, so do I. It's beautiful skin. This is the white one with sort of the black and orange parts that makes it look like some kind of futuristic racing ship. Will the healer and rattlesnake versions be made available? Relatedly, are there plans changes to skins use such that one skin can be used across ship type variants, such as the Prophecy series of skins? Lance here says, we're glad that you like the Renaissance skin, but there are currently no plans to add new Renaissance skins. Please check out our other new skin releases. And again, I kind of see both sides of this. One part of it is that it's really nice that it's a unique skin for the worm, and thus it's something nice for those of us who, you know, fly that piece of crap. But ultimately, it is, I like having variety. I like being able to look around and say, right, okay, I want to make all of my ships match. I wish there was a way for me to use a purple nanocore using the Angel Veteran skin, which is only available on blue nanocores. I get it. I kind of get wanting to use a really cool skin on different ships, but of course it does take time and effort to develop these. You don't just literally copy and paste it across, you have to make sure that it matches, and the shaders and filters and all that work. There's a lot that goes into skin design, a lot more than I think people do genuinely give the art team credit for. So I'm on both sides there. I'm always a fan of more skins, and the Renaissance skin I think is a really nice one for the worm, and I'd love to see it on the healer and rattlesnake. I think it would look really, really cool. But how many people are flying them? Is it a good use of the dev team's time? I don't know. That's for them to decide. Are there plans to change the skins so they can be used across ship type variants? This has been answered elsewhere. I noticed that Lance does avoid it in the answer below. It has been mentioned elsewhere. The plan is no. Nanocores can be used to transfer this across. So for example, if you got the Naga Panda skin and you really want to use that on your Naga 3, you just need a Naga Nanocore and a Naga. You put the Naga Nanocore on the standard Naga, which has the Panda skin. You set it to use the Panda skin, and then you disassemble the Nanocore and you move it onto your Naga 3. You now have a Naga 3 that has the same visualization as it once had on the Naga. You're welcome. Ultimately, that's how you do this, but the concept of skins being across multiple things, the dev team have previously said that the idea is that they want you to kind of have to pay for each individual skin that you want, so it makes each skin special, and it's their way of ensuring they do get a little bit of sort of money out of the skins. And there's two different ways to think of that. Apologies if you hear the dogs barking in the background. There's two different ways to think of that. That yes, ultimately a dev team does need to make money, and on something like skins that only you really see. How many people play zoomed in far enough that they can see the ships that they're actually targeting at? Not many. So it's a niche thing, and I get it. I get it on both sides. For me though, I'm indifferent on this one. There's a way around it by doing the whole nanocore thing, just obviously you need to have a nanocore available for it. I like that they do add more skins from time to time, but I don't see it as an urgent thing. Final question then, is it possible to not auto-deploy all tabs in the shop? Scroll or close manually are worse than open only what we search. I'm not entirely sure what that question's asking. I feel a little bit like I've had a mild stroke trying to read that. I think it's a case of when you scroll down the shop, sometimes as you're scrolling, you tap on something and therefore it opens the whole tab, meaning that you now have to scroll further. I don't know what you really want to do with that kind of information. I don't get this question. Lance says they're optimizing the tab presentation in the shop soon. I guess that's really it. There's not much left to say on that one, I don't think. And that's the end of that dev Q&A. 8 questions, wow. That felt good to go through all of those quite quickly. There's some really interesting stuff there. I really, really want 60 FPS. Hisec PvE content definitely needs more variety. Nestor Nanocores are now in the game. Damage type specific shield armor hardeners. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments. Buffs for Mordu's Legion and Sisters of Eve ships coming in the April balance update. The PI timers, you can extend all of them at once with a button soon. They aren't intending to add the Renaissance skin at any time soon, and skins are ship-specific, not hull-specific. And shop tabs are getting optimized. Anyway, that brings us to the end of this video. My goodness, sorry I've rambled so much in so many parts of that. Talking of skins though, I do really like this bull skin. I know it's the recent event one, Typhoon 2 there, with a sort of purple and gold bull on it. How awesome is that? Anyway, folks, let me know your thoughts and opinions on these questions in the comment section down below. And of course, if you have your own questions, again, click that link in the description, go through to the Google document, ask your question. If it's one they choose to respond to, you do win a month of basic Omega, and that's really, really cool. Anyway, folks, thanks for watching, happy sailing, and see you in New Eden.